Hey guys, what's up? It's been a little while since I've done a Kydex skills or tips and tricks video, but I've recently discovered something, or I haven't discovered it. I've come into some information that has been extremely helpful in terms of getting good, consistent molds of the Kydex. Before, for me, it's been a little tricky to get like this kind of really strong, clear, defined definition out of the thicker Kydex. And it's possible, but there's a certain amount of, for me at least for a little while, there was a certain amount of like luck involved in getting the Kydex to heat properly. Until I discovered something really important, and it should have been so obvious. And that's when you go to Kydex.com, there's a section called Technical Data. And then within that section is a group of documents called Technical Briefs. And those documents describe every single minuscule property of the Kydex sheets. And if there's anything you ever want to know about how it's going to react, how it's going to behave, how it's going to shrink, what kind of results you're going to get from what different processes, it's all right there. It's all entirely available through the manufacturer. So I read through as much of it as I could, or certainly as much of it was pertinent, and I found out a little bit about generally the heating properties of Kydex, or how it responds to being heated. And I've seen, through my own, mistakes, that heating it too high, too fast will cause it to react dramatically. But you also, like, how can you avoid heating it too quickly? And also, how can you, it'll cool down just about as fast as it heats up. Like, your working time is very low. So what can you do to maximize your working time with the Kydex? Well, today what we're going to do is we're going to do just a little demonstration. We're not going to make a holster from start to finish. We're just going to do, I have a piece of scrap here, and I've got this little LCP blue gun, and we're just going to mold one face of this, just for demonstration purposes. We're going to do a couple things that are going to ensure that we get a totally outstanding mold. The first thing that we're going to do is we're not going to set the oven to our desired temperature right off the bat. It's currently set as low as it'll go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this piece of Kydex in the oven at the absolute lowest temperature that this oven can set to. And then, while I am monitoring this temperature and slowly increasing this temperature, we're going to go from about 150 degrees to about 250 degrees on this dial. I don't know at the moment exactly what the true internal temperature of this oven is, but we're just going to go from 150 to 250 on the dial. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to gently warm the foam and the gun simultaneously. Because when you put this plastic in the mold, this foam can very easily just suck all the heat right out of this plastic. And that's going to decrease the amount of definition you get. It's going to decrease the working time that you have. Basically, whenever you have a large differential in heat, you're going to have a big transfer of heat, right? That's why, let's see if I can think of a good example. I'm only thinking of like examples relating to heat and pressure, right? When the pressure's high, when there's a big pressure differential, you're going to have a dramatic impetus to change the pressure from high to low, which is why things explode or burst, right? When something's very hot and the things around it are very cold, it's going to aggressively transfer that heat. Things want to equalize, and they're going to want to equalize in relationship to the disparity between high pressure and low pressure, and high temperature and low temperature. So if I've got this really hot plastic and this really cold press, it's going to want to dump that heat into this foam. But if this foam is already warm, we're not really giving this heat a whole lot of place to go, if that makes any sense. Basically, by warming it up, we're just going to keep the whole system warmer in general. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to stop rambling. I'm going to put this Kydex in here at about 150. It's not even that hot. I can just put my whole hand in here. Right, and we're going to keep an eye on that. We're going to get this guy set up over here, and we're going to warm it up. Now, I still have not improved my press. I don't really have a whole lot of motivation to do that, to be perfectly honest. This small surface area combined with the substantial pressure from these clamps goes a long way towards helping me get a consistent high definition mold. So, you know, we'll see where it goes. Maybe at some point I'm going to need to change this, but as of now, I'm pretty pleased. So, the next part of this is probably going to be relatively boring. You're just going to, you know, watch me heat this up and, you know, adjust the temperature on this, and we'll go from there. Now, this process is admittedly much slower than just, you know, putting it in at 250 and, you know, pressing away. But this all depends, you know, you get out of it what you put into it. So I've been doing this more and more, and I've been working on a couple folks' holsters. This is for a SIG 1911 with a TLR1. That's the front face, and the definition, the interface is pretty outstanding. This is the back side of that. Here's another one. They wanted in. Somebody else wanted it in Coyote Tan. That one's coming out pretty good. This one's not a very good example. I mean, the definition's very good, but it's of the C5L, which doesn't have a whole lot of distinct shapes that make it look really outstanding when it's well defined. But the holster turned out nice. I'm really warming up to that. This Desert Tan. I think this Desert Tan looks outstanding, and the edges on this guy, they come out like butter. I'm going to make myself a SIG 1911 holster in this color combination, and I'm going to take it to bed with me. I'm going to put it under my pillow. So anyway, yeah, this is the first video from the new workspace, and now we're not like, you know, melting this foam here. We're just, you know, making sure that it stays warm, putting a little warmth into the gun. A real gun will hold the warmth a little bit better. You're not going to hurt anything with a heat gun, you know. So basically, some of this technical literature that I was talking about earlier describes like a Kydex. There's like a troubleshooting guide, like to, you know, I'm not getting enough definition. Well, you know, that could be the result of not enough heat or not enough pressure or vacuum if you're using a vacuum press. Or, you know, my Kydex warps or bubbles or, you know, shrinks or over glosses, and that can be the result of heating too quickly or too high a temperature. I was able to really push this the other day. The slower you heat it, the higher you can get the temperature, it seems, before it reacts negatively. So if you have all day, basically, you can probably push this up to, you know, 300 some degrees. I think the Kydex literature talks about how, like, the heat deflection is at 300 something degrees on this, and I don't necessarily know if heat deflection refers to you know, when it you know, combusts or starts to evaporate, or, you know, starts to change state somehow, or smoke or burn. But apparently you can get this to be a pretty high temperature before you start to see it, like, really break down. All right, so you can't see in the oven, but I'm starting to get this plastic to sag a little bit. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn this guy up to 200 right now. Just, you know, very gradually. and we'll see how that goes. I'm going to bring this other piece of foam in here too, because it's going to be touching part of the plastic. So this isn't like hot to the touch. I mean, it's like, you know, maybe, you know, remember when you got sick, you would get one of those like hot water bottles, or those red thermos bottles? It's not any hotter than that would be, you know? I'm still familiarizing myself with this small oven. It doesn't heat quite as well, or, you know, I don't have the same working relationship with it yet that I did with the one down in the kitchen. But we're becoming friends. We're getting friendly. Oh, also, here's a little bonus for those of you who decided not to fast forward through this segment. If you want to make a lot of belt loops at once, right, take your strip of Kydex and then score it and crack it, not so that it comes apart, but, alright, say you want belt loops and you want them to be, you know, 3/4 of an inch wide. Well, you make your 3/4 of an inch scores and you crack it along those scores, but not so far that it becomes separate pieces, but just so far that it breaks a little bit, so that you can like bend it. Put it in your press with your inch, you know, say you want 1.5-inch belt loops. I've got this set up, you know, this strip is 1.5 inches. It's just a piece of Kydex, or 1.25, glued onto this piece of plywood. Just, you know, because this edge has such good definition, I use that. It's nice and sharp as opposed to the plywood, which is rounded. But at any rate, if you put the pre-scored Kydex in the press with the with your belt loop die, to a degree, as you heat it up, it will self-heal really substantially in like a remarkable way. The scores that you put into it, but once it's out of the press and it's all cooled down, you can find the little lines that it's that you've scored, and you can just break them off like Kit Kats, like Kit Kat bars. So you can wind up with a whole bunch of belt loops like these guys. These guys were all molded simultaneously, and then you just break them off, you know, just as you need them, like single, you know, individual serving belt loops. So that's a little bonus. I'll throw a little video up on that maybe later, some other time. But that's a bonus for those of you who decided not to fast forward through this, you know, otherwise very boring process of me just heat gunning my press. Okay, so we're starting to get a little more sag in there. I'm going to turn it up a little bit further. Okay, see if we can get some. Let's take a look in here. Let's see how this is. Open this up. Get rid of that poke. Yeah, not there yet. I'm sure one of you watching is going to go to this Kydex Technical Briefs website and come up with something that's like absolutely astonishing and blows us all away. I only, you know, gave it a cursory look, and I was only looking for certain kinds of information, but there's so much stuff out there that somebody in this community is going to read it and have like a monumental breakthrough with their process and come up with something really phenomenal. Just make sure that you like share it with us when you do. Push this up to 250. I get the feeling that I'm running a little too much current through this power strip, because when I hear the toaster oven cycle on, I hear the pitch of this fan change too. Yeah, so we might not be wired adequately. I periodically look over at the outlet to make sure it's not leaving like a dark ring on the wall from where it smolders when I turn on all of this equipment. I kid, of course. Hear that? That's what I'm talking about. There we go. It is nice and hot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly swap out what I'm doing here and slam all this stuff in the press, and we'll take it from there. Ready. So it's not like warping or doing anything crazy yet, so we can go ahead and we'll just throw that in there any old way. Put the press together, in there, and hopefully we'll, you know, invariably see a difference from having warmed up the foam and keeping it insulated, so we can keep the material a little warmer for a little longer and let the press really do its work here. So we'll come back to this in a couple minutes. Here we go. Alright, so this guy's gonna sit. While we do that, I'm gonna share a couple fun things with you guys that I've been doing the past couple days. Here we go. Alright, so my friend got himself a Viridian C5L light. Here, let me clean this up real quick. I've been working with it. It's a little beat. It's got some tape residue on it, so we'll get it cleaned up. Anyway, he got himself a C5L and wanted a super compact little holster to accommodate it with his Glock. So I was always happy to work on this with him. So I've been checking out this Viridian, and it is a pretty exciting little thing. I mean, I showed you that inside the waistband holster. I did a outside the waistband one for him. What I didn't know was all the different programming settings that you can, all the deep programming you can get into with this Viridian. You can actually adjust the rate of strobe. So I picked possibly the most seizure-inducing, mind-boggling strobe that I could on this, and it turns this dim little light into a serious stun gun. I'm actually feeling dizzy just looking at this, so I'm going to turn that off before I throw up my dinner. The green light is probably 2 or 3 times as bright as the Surefire X400, just to put that in perspective. So anyway, I'm very pleased with the way this one turned out. Let me see if I can get some white light over here. This guy's kind of yellow. still getting used to this new studio setup. Just want to make sure that this color is accurate. That's better. So anyway, this this desert tan is like a very buttery kind of look to it that I'm very happy with. The Coyote, I think, turned out very well. These guys look good together, and I like the definition that I got in these serrations here. This C5 is very gnarly, so I had to like relieve some of the definition here and there because it's got all these little spots where it can really get hung up. I wish you could see inside here. You can like see you can see the writing on the inside. So fits in nice and tight. Looking very good. And even though it doesn't curve, it's got a small enough footprint that it stays pretty concealable. So there we go. I've been doing the edge buff. That's coming out very nicely indeed. I did another thing today. I had made one for a friend of mine, and I didn't get a chance to photograph it or document it, so I figured that I would make one for myself because I want one. And it's a I had been using up until this point, since I don't have a whole lot of time, a holster that I just kind of mocked up and knocked together for my P238, and I wasn't always very happy with it. I made myself this little micro compact holster, and I wear this at like 1 o'clock, 1 or 2 o'clock on my belt, and it's very comfortable. It's got good definition. The gun ride's reasonably high. I can get into my pockets because it's so small. Here, I'll show you real quick. I got a new belt, by the way. That's fun and exciting. I got tired of my flimsy 1.5" 511 tactical nylon belt, and I decided to spring for an Aries belt. Some of you guys know about Aries. They're made out of like a scuba belt, and they are extremely overbuilt. I justified it to myself as a business expense. Yeah, I figured, I got to make sure that these holsters work with a variety of different belts, especially like a more substantial duty belt. Once I've been wearing it for a little longer, I'll talk about it, but I have nothing but good things to say about it so far. So yeah, let's take a look. So yeah, I wear it. I've been wearing it right about here all day. I can just throw a hoodie over it and I can feel it through my pocket. It's right there. It's concealed in the hoodie. This gun is live. It's hot, so I'm not gonna, do any kind of draw practice with it at the moment. But yeah, you can get it into your pockets. It doesn't bang against your knife. If I want to put a shirt on over it, I can just run it over here, and it's at 3 o'clock. And it would be a little top heavy. However, this belt is so substantial that it doesn't torque or deflect in any way that would make it flop away from my body. So I can just, I could even just throw a t-shirt on over it if I was feeling so inclined. There you go. Not bad. It's not ideal, but it's comfortable, and I'm pleased with it. So that's the P238 mini holster. So fun things are happening. Fun things are happening. So I'm taking advantage of the fact that I am no longer limited to 15-minute videos. So that's fun. I'm letting this one get a little rambly, a little out of hand. So let's see how this guy's feeling. It's still warm inside the press, so that means it's still working. Anyway, focus. Let's focus. So. I think we could probably risk it and take these buns out of the oven and see what we get. I didn't mean to make a rambling video. I just kind of had to fill a little waiting time. I didn't want to have to import this and edit it and everything. I kind of just wanted to knock it out and get it done. So if I had to import a 20-minute video into the editing software, God, my computer's pretty slow. It'd be days before I got this together. So, let's see how this goes. For the moment of truth. So, here we go. That's the kind of totally perfect definition that you can get if you slowly heat up the Kydex and then, excuse me, took some of the blue off of there. Well, let's fix that with Mr. Brake Clean. Take that, brain cells. Alright, let's take a look in here. Anyway. So that's the kind of, look, you can't even see the focus, please. You rotten camera. Let's take a look over here, right? You can see every single little detail in this. That's the kind of definition you can get when you slowly heat the Kydex, when you start it off at a lower temperature and gradually increases temperature, and if you pre-warm your foam press and the gun you're working with, you're going to decrease the rapid heat transfer as the Kydex lets go of its heat, and you're going to really maximize these awesome properties of this material. So give that a shot. Slowly bring the Kydex up to working temperature, and I mean, look at that. You can like read the smallest definition. You can see where it says LCP on the side of the slide. That's awesome. I mean, what more do you want? You know. So, just our little test subject there. Go forth and make awesome projects. And thanks for watching.